All right, so welcome you all again. If you have anything to ask, Soham is asking, in the last lecture you mentioned about GDP per capita in PPP terms for classification of countries. Can you please confirm on World Bank website it's using the World Bank Atlas method? All right, the Atlas method smooths exchange rate fluctuation by using a 3-year moving average price adjusted conversion factor, and hence India is a lower middle income country and not upper middle. All right, very good. Soham, you are right to that extent. You perhaps you have to understand the entire thing. We were talking about in terms of PPP, right? So I have talked about ICP program, International Comparison Program, which is something which relates that where the countries stand. Atlas method talks about the quantum of economies, and they use a 3-year base SDR deflator. That's called SDR deflator. So by using that deflator, I don't know how much you're understanding about the SDR deflator, but by using that deflator, that calculation methodology is being used. So that's a way where the value is taken into current US dollar, right? So in terms of PPP, I was telling that what is the amount? 6681. If we look in terms of PPP as per HDI value, and that makes India in the ICP program into the upper middle, right? So that's the value of GDP PPP as per UNDP of India, right? Now, when we say Atlas method, that is about the size of economies, and in that we look into 3-year average. 3-year average by using SDR deflator. So what you have read is not wrong. That's absolutely right. But that is an Atlas method methodology where we look at the size of the economies. Here we are looking into the international comparison program in terms of purchasing power of the people. That because I told you that ultimate objective of World Bank is to ensure that the GDP, whatever the GDP PPP of the economy is, to make sure that poverty in all forms getting eradicated. Atlas method of the World Bank is a way of looking into 3 years average, like taking SDR deflator. That's a different thing altogether when we talk about calculation of the quantum of economies. In fact, if possible, I would like to show you that also, so that you understand that how UNDP says that. If I could take you directly to let me show you the value, HDI UNDP. This takes us directly to the UNDP website. If this is the detail of that, if I directly take you to the HDI value, Human Development Index and its component. So I'm directly taking you to the 131 position, that is India's position. This is the official website of United Nations, 131, India. The HDI value is 0.645, life expectancy 69.7, expected rate of schooling 12.2, mean rate of schooling 6.5, gross national GNI per capita, if you see, is coming how much? 6681. 6681. Could you see this data? 6681, which I told yesterday. So this is in terms of when we talk about comparative program. So 6681 is our GDP in terms of ICP program. Atlas method is something different in that we get what is called a calculation of taking SDR deflator. We look into 3 years average and we see that what is the strength of the economies. In that, yes, we are in the lower income trap. There is a term which is called lower middle income trap. India is into that trap. I hope, Shoham, that is clear to you. So here when we are talking about ICP, we have taken the data of United Nations Development Program, HDI value which gives us 6681 to see where we stand. But I'm very happy that you had looked into it, and this is what I actually want. I told you from the beginning that this is a good interface that you should be looking into the things, understanding. In fact, look how at one place, as we have gone, I would like to show you that in one place, look how wonderful detail has been given for the HDI. Entire thing is at one place. You can see that how the HDI is and all the detail of multi-dimensional poverty index, as UNDP says. One word explanations are given. Official website of UNDP provides a very good detail of it. So when we are saying 6681, P in terms of PPPGNI, that's a different thing. When we are looking into 3 years average of taking SDR deflator by using Atlas method is a different thing. So you should be aware of that Atlas method is used by the World Bank. If you see from that point of view, our value will come something close to 1900 something. Last data is 2020. 1900 maybe 30 or something is the data. So this is how, when it comes to using US dollar current price, using 3 years average of SDR deflator, and this is in terms of international comparison program, ICP program, where we are looking into that what is GDP, PPP, and on that basis, what could be the ranking of the countries, right? So it depends which reference you are using. I was referring in terms of poverty, and that's why I told you that from that angle, India is still looking to not that bad situation, but not that very good situation either, when we look into that where we are and how far or close we are in terms of, in fact, if you can understand, which I'm sure you will, I can show you one more thing in this table itself. If you see here, we got the comparison. This is the comparison. And you should be aware of it. I'm sure you have read it here and there. I would like to take you on one thing called, are you aware of IHDI? So when we look at the download this entire data, human development index component, I would like to take you to one thing called IHDI, inequality adjusted human development index. Look, this is something which is again very important. Again, if we go to India, (131). Look, India's value is HDI value 0.645, IHDI value is 0.475. That means a drop of almost 26%. To be specific, 26.4% is the drop. If you see the drop is almost 26.4%, clearly indicates, and that's why, if you see here, we get this, how much, have you heard of Palma ratio? The poorest 40% and the richest 10%. This is what is called Palma ratio. Palma ratio, and that data is given. So we look into this statistics to see, you might have heard of Gini coefficient, Palma ratio, these are the ways to calculate poverty. So all the details are given. Then we have quintile ratio, decile ratio. In short, when we look into international comparison program, we want to see comparatively which country is standing where. So ICP, when we say into that, when it comes to Atlas method, which is talking about the quantum of economies in terms of current price US dollar, that is something where India is lower income. That's how. That's fine. I hope it's clear to you now. Please do let me know whether it's clear or not to others also. So his confusion was about one thing called Atlas method, which World Bank is calculating for comparison of the economies. So which reference you are saying that is important? Are you taking US dollar current by using SDR deflator, or what we were discussing in terms of ICP program, International Comparison Program, to see what is UNDP data is saying and where we stand? In fact, if I request that develop this habit on and off, at least India's position, going on the UNDP website and looking the data, because these three data which I gave yesterday, 69.7 life expectancy, 6.5 the average of of the adults of 25 years and above who had been to the school, and the expected year of schooling 12.2. This is the cradle, this is the very torch bearing on which we look into where we stand, and that's why HDI data is taken so seriously in every country. So that's how at least these four data you should be aware of, so that when you're writing about health, education, overall poverty and development, you can use this data accordingly, right? Fine. Shantanu is asking, sir, if there is huge inflow of dollar, then will the value, if money depreciate? Why, said if there is huge outflow of dollar, will then the value of money appreciates? What is the problem if capital account becomes convertible? Very briefly, all right. Shantanu is asking, if there is a huge inflow of dollar, then the value of money, then will the value of, if money depreciate? I'm not getting this question. Maybe the framing needs, if there is a huge inflow and outflow of dollar, then what? Look, if money, it's simple. Compare dollar with the onion. That's I always give a quick solution to the student. Compare dollar with the onion. More onion available, less or more demand is same. More onion available, that means the pricing will go down. Simple. So if there is more dollar available, the pricing will go down. Less dollar available and more demand is coming, pricing will go up. Even there is one more thing, I don't want to get into that. There was a concern, perhaps Shantanu, that is running in your head. Which disease? There was something which happened in 1970s. There are a lot of things, we have to somewhere draw a line that how far I have to go. So when you say which disease, what happens in that? And that's why there is one concept called Tobin tax. Tobin tax, which was proposed by Tobin, which says whenever speculative work is there on the exchange rate, there should be some taxation on it. So let's assume that when onion is not available in the market, people go on speculation. They start hoarding it, that the prices will go further up. They want to hold more than what they require, keeping their forthcoming requirement in mind. Same goes with the dollar. If dollar is lesser and there is more demand, people will start holding dollar. They would like to hold it for their future requirements, and so on and so forth. Speculation starts. For that, Tobin advised one thing called Tobin tax. So in the simple way, you can compare dollar with the onion. Onion available, that means the prices will be lesser. Onion not available, that means prices will be high, because onion is needed to cook the food. Similarly, dollar is needed for export, for import. We need dollar. So when we have to buy the things, we need dollar. Whenever we are exporting, naturally dollar will come. So whenever we want to buy, look at the import side. We want to buy, we need dollar. We want to buy more, means onion is more required, more dollar. If not available, prices will go up. Simple. That's why I often say that this dilemma can be better understood just by comparing with a basic commodity called onion. Like in the wedding season, onion demand increases. That's why this is the time when you will see onion prices goes up. Simple. Because, this is the time when, obviously during winters people take more of spicy food. The wedding season, in general, the demand of onion will increase. Similarly, whenever import is more, the demand of dollar will increase. If onion is not made available by the government, price might go up and speculation will start. That people will start holding onion for the future gains. People will start holding onion at a cheaper price for their own requirement, and so on and so forth. Similarly, if dollar is not available, those who want to import, they might hold it. Some people might purchase it unnecessarily for sake of a speculation profit. Tobin says, have a tax on it. That's called Tobin tax. Those who are going for a speculation purpose. Tobin tax is there in several countries. So that is called Tobin tax. However, Other way could be what we do in onion. Whenever we see onion price goes up, central government provide fund to the state government so that they can buy onion. Similarly, RBI provides under the sterilization dollar available so that the prices goes down. As simple as that. So just, I told you already, the beauty of economy is if you try to correlate with the things, don't look it as if something alien. It is something around us. Anything whose demand is more and is not available, price will go up and speculation will follow. Speculation will follow. So any country where import is more and the dollar is not available. Now accordingly you can make n number of permutation combination, because Shantanu, with due respect, I could not see the question properly that what you want to ask, because you are saying if there is a huge flow of dollar, inflow of the dollar, then will the value, if money depreciate? If there is inflow of the dollar, if dollar is continuously coming in your system, that means dollar is available easily, that means dollar vis-a-vis rupee. So rupee should appreciate in that case, right? Compare this with the onion thing, and probably, you can compare with March Bhat also, that might suit you better, alright. So whatever, so simple, when March Bhat is available, on the streets in Calcutta, it's cheaper. If not for any reason, it may go up. So look, when it comes to anything, it's demand which determines. That's why, for sake of my student, I compare always dollar with the onion. I know this is very unholy comparison, but for sake of understanding, it can be compared. That when it comes to availability of dollar, if dollar is not available, people want it more, prices will go up. Simple. If dollar is available and demand is something which is met, the price will not appreciate. So if dollars demand is more and dollar is not available, price will appreciate. That means each dollar will come expensive, rupee will depreciate. So compare it with the onion. How much onion is required, how much is there, how much you will pay for the onion then. So if when onion is available, you will pay 10 rupees. When onion is not available, you will pay 20 rupees. Similarly, if dollar is available, you might pay 70 rupees. When dollar is not available, you have to pay 80 rupees. Accordingly, the currency depreciates. I hope it's clear to you, Shantanu. Sir, what is the problem if capital account becomes convertible? Look, the biggest problem Tarapuri had said is, as you had said, to answer in brief, in one line I'll answer. Tarapuri says that, the biggest problem is that the moment you make it convertible, you have to make your laws accordingly, because now someone might come with complete dollar in your system without your intervention, and some policy disputes may come. So keeping this in mind, your legal framework, your company act, etc. has to be aligned with the international norms. Until that is not being done, it might create a lot of legal complications. So in that case, we might get stuck. And that's why it is not advisable unless and until our laws, our rules are getting complete. That's why if you see Insolvency Bankruptcy Code, that's why we are working on Company Act 2013. So many things has been done just to make sure that we are aligned with the international guidelines of the corporate governance. And once we do that, then probably we can go for convertibility. That's why I told you it's a process, it's not an event. All right. Is that clear? Fine. Shubham is asking, sir, as you say Kerala is top in Niti Aayog and multidimensional poverty, is it right to say this because this is poverty index? I think it may be last in the rank. I asked because this may be all right, fine. That's the reason why you said UP yesterday, Shubham. Because I was not expecting this from you. I have seen your comments. So, look, I was a bit surprised, honestly, when you said UP. Okay, fine. I understood your point. He's saying that which state should be in first, which state should be in last in multidimensional poverty index. Niti Aayog has prepared the index in negative way. That means the state with the minimum will be the first ranker. That's how. So we were just following the Niti Aayog reference. So Kerala was one of those states with the minimum MPI with 0.7, and that's why the best. So the ranking which they had prepared itself as, look, that's the beauty of digital world. I can show you one thing. I'm directly going MPI, Niti Aayog, PIB, which they have released. as so if you see, this is the introductory thing, and please be careful, this 4th series data is used, NFHS, because we have now 5th series data, don't get confused. This 4th series data will be used for it. That you will read in your current affairs, or you might have read. International Institute for Population Sciences will be conducting this study. That is there. Now if you see, they have given the indicator. I told you that this is the new entry, antenatal care. Then this new entry is there, bank accounts. Further, if you read the data, they had said the best situation is of Kerala. So they had put into the green by, this is the map, by calling the best states. So if you see, those who are in this value are, the greenish one. That's why we can say in terms of multidimensional poverty index, ranking is negative. That means the rank 1 will be given to that state which is showing least MPI. But yes, all right, Shubham, I understood. But to be honest, yesterday I was a bit disappointed with you, because so far your statement has been quite, to the point. But when you said UP, I was a bit surprised that have you not read it out? What I couldn't think that way, because naturally you're right. Whatever I hope others are understanding his argument. He is saying that when you are saying multidimensional poverty index, the first rank should be given to that country who is having maximum poverty. It is index, that how many poor we have, and accordingly what is the status of the state. So negative listing is there that way. So, but be careful. I agree that general commonsensically thinking that statement is acceptable. That way Kerala should be the bottom in terms of multi-dimensional poverty index, because they are the best in terms of performance. The list, this is in front of you. I have searched in front of you so that you can refer to. In fact, I wanted you to know this. Particularly as we have taken 2-3 minutes, I will underline, you can write it somewhere. In this new multidimensional poverty index, there are some interesting things. Like one is this, that National Family Health Survey 4th data is something which is utilized for it. If you see, they had mentioned it, that we are using, let me show you, that for the computation of national MPI, the unit level micro data collected in 2015-16 has been used for current MPI report. That data is something which is look, here it is mentioned that National Family Health Survey 4, this data is utilized 2015-16, and the data is collected by this institute. In fact, I think if UPSC will ask, they will twist here. Most of the people will not be aware of it. International Institute for Population Sciences collect this data. That is called National Family Health Survey. National Family Health Survey 5 data has also come now, 2019-20. That data is very encouraging. You might be reading it in wherever the context of health will come. That data is very encouraging of 2019-20 but for multidimensional poverty index baseline report. Baseline report means the first report. We are using National Family Health Survey 4 data. National Family Health Survey 4 data 2015-16 prepared by International Institute for Population Studies. This data is unlike multidimensional poverty index. This data is having 12 indicators, while in multidimensional poverty index, which is prepared by UNDP and Oxford University, Oxford Poverty and Human Development Initiative, OPHI, that is something which consists of 10 indicators. I don't know how many of you have read as of now multidimensional poverty index, but you should be aware of that is prepared by UNDP. This is prepared by Niti Aayog. Data will be used for NFHS 4, National Family Health Survey 4, and the data is prepared by International Institute for Population Sciences. And that way Kerala is something which is the best performer with 0.7%, and Bihar is the worst performer with 51.9. To avoid any confusion, let's not talk about the rank. All right, so this is how we got it. Fine? Good. Good, but really, I was... this could be a way out. This is how you can think. And that's the beauty of the diversity of thinking. That logic is absolutely acceptable if you're not aware of. Look, the map they had prepared. And if you're not aware of, you can say this way, that way Bihar should be at the first position because they have the maximum MPI. The list is negative when we look into the state with the best performer state and so and so. But be careful, this antenatal care, which is, antenatal is prenatal, it's synonymous. Don't call it antenatal, antenatal, that is prenatal, that has been added. And one more thing they have added is banking account, which I think is very welcoming, and I'm sure even the main UNDP multidimensional poverty index may consider this. For information, even this year's multidimensional poverty index has also thought of gender and other kind of ethnic class, challenges in terms of distribution of multidimensional poor. So I don't want to get into that. That you have already done here and there. So this is how, when we talk about what exactly when I mean to say that Kerala is something which is the best performer and Bihar is the one which is the worst performer in that way. Fine, good. So I hope you are answered, particularly that confusion. Don't get confused on the World Bank Atlas report and ICP programs. Any other question? All right. So just to have a quick recapitulation, yesterday we talked about that what is World Bank. Before that we have understood that what is this sterilization intervention of the RBI, how that is being done. Whenever RBI is of the opinion that dollar demand is more, it might take dollar from its forex reserve or might by purchasing and provide it to the government, to the national bank, so that dollar is available in the system. This approach is called sterilization, so that whether if it is depreciating fastly or appreciating fastly, the problem is taken care of, so that it ranges between the given market flow. That's how we got this idea of sterilization we talked about. Then we understood what is manipulator. Manipulators could be two, the manipulators and the potential manipulators. However, India as of now officially is not into the manipulation list, because it is US which will decide who's the manipulator and who's not. But we are into the manipulation watch list. They are saying that it looks like that India is having some tendency towards it, but we have clarified our stand that we are doing it because we want to promote our export. Moving ahead, we have tried to understand what is World Bank. I told you what is Bretton Woods Conference, how in the Bretton Woods Conference we got three major concerns. One for financial assistance to the world, and that World Bank came. Another for standardization of the calculations, IMF came. And the third was for what is called developing some kind of trade rules, and that is how we got the concept of GATS coming. In the World Bank, we have understood that it was initially called IBRD, which came out of Bretton Woods, International Bank for Reconstruction and Development. It was introduced in 1944. As of now, we have 189 members, but the number will be naturally increased to 190 because one of the country, Andorra, has joined IMF now. So IMF became 190. Naturally, the World Bank become IBRD will become 190 also, because if we are member in one, you have to naturally apply in the other. And Andorra is one which has joined it. Then, and that's why you should be aware of this country. And tourism, they are between France and Spain, and tourism is their economy primarily. Now, moving ahead, I also told you that when it comes to World Bank, it is something which consists of two organizations called IBRD and IDA, and they together called World Bank. IBRD and IDA, these two, IDA is something which provide loan to those countries which are not in the position to repay as of now, so they are given larger time, 30 to 38 years with some grace time, particularly the African countries. And IDA came in existence in 1960 with 173 members, and IBRD and IDA putting together can be called as World Bank. However, I also told you that IBRD provides loan to only those countries which are having repayment capacities. Then moving ahead, I told you that World Bank provides loan for infrastructure, sanitation, gender empowerment, safe drinking water, health, education, environment, means in short developmental objectives, whatsoever could be developmental objectives of the country, so that their ultimate objective of achieving what is called no poverty or eradication of poverty in all forms by 2030 is achieved. So just for the sake of achieving that target, they are continuously, incessantly working on providing all developmental assistance to countries. They are partnering with the government for that matter. However, the other agencies like IFC, MIGA and ICSID, they partner with non-government entities, there could be companies or agencies. IFC provides backing to those companies who want to seek international loan in their native currency, and that's how IFC since 1956 with 184 members is working to ensure fund availability to good companies, and obviously the rating has to be good for those companies, and like NTPC has a good rating. So I told you that that's how we got this masala bond kind of thing. Then I told you MIGA is Multilateral Investment Guarantee Agency. This provides investment guarantee to ensure that any investor should not be afraid of investing into the conflict zones. Like I give you examples, say Tata want to invest in any of the African country, but they're not sure of the investment guarantee. So MIGA can come and help into that, working since 1988 with 181 members. Then I told you further when it comes to this idea of the next one, what you can say is ICSID, International Center for Settlement of Investment Disputes, that is working since 1966 with 154 members, and India is not a member of it because we believe that whatever their terms of settlements are something Western oriented, help the developed countries. The World Bank also comes with one international comparison program where it tried to understand that how the countries are in terms of GDP, PPP, in terms of their purchasing power and life standards, in that they could be in terms of what is called low income, lower middle, and upper income by looking into the variable of 1,000 per capita, 1,035, which is the new indicator since 2020, 1,035 to what is called 4,045, and then we got what is 1,036 to 4,045, then we got what is called 12,535, and that's how the ranks are clarified. I also told you that they are very famous for global economic prospects, human capital index, and international debt statistics, along with the famous or unfamous ease of doing business report. However, as we are talking on here in front, I would like to show you one thing. I won't go into that detail, but I refer you because I'm sure that you have done it earlier, so there's no point of it. But then even just to make sure, as I was talking about World Bank, you should be a little careful about this report. Why I am just searching in front of you, Human Capital Index. In fact, you can tell me whether you have read about it or not so far. Maybe further you will be. Look, this is Human Capital report. Can you see wherever the World Bank is written, it is always IBRD and IDA. They are put together. If you see, I would like to take you directly to the reports. This is called Index, Human Development Index. The 2020 visualization, this is overview and so and so. Look, wonderfully said that what is this report is. If I give you overview, there are three factors: survival, school and health. You should be well aware of these factors. If not, make a proper note. Why I'm saying it is very important, because this is a very important indicator started in 2018. Not surprised, 2018 UPSC has asked, 19 UPSC has asked something about it. 2020 data, if you see the last we got in 2020, it was before COVID. Next data will come in 2022. And that will be very, very important for you, because that will give us a quick contrast that how much of human capital we have lost due to the COVID. In the COVID time, how much of loss to the human capital has happened. Wonderfully, like if you say India's value is 0.4935, if it goes up or down. In fact, there is one more thing very interesting if you want to see in this index itself. Let's say In fact, I always say that these kind of reports are very good for one more thing. It's a fun thing for you if you want. I'm clicking on India, look. The entire detail came, 0.49, 0.4935 and so and so. If you're still struggling with your map, where the country is, this could help. Where is Madagascar? Take a look. So this way, when you can revise, this is very good interface made by World Bank. If you are still confused about the country's name and so, so want to know Romania, just click. So that's how when we talk about this report is a very important report coming from the World Bank, and whenever this came for the first time, direct question was asked on that what is this report and what is human capital and so and so. So be careful, this report will come in 2022 again, and you should be well versed with this report. Might be useful directly for the mains examination. You might get direct question. Though I know I digressed, that is not something which is our discussion here today, but as the context has come, I wanted you to be well aware of that this is a very important indicator, very important thing which is coming from World Bank, and you should be well versed with it, right? When you're reading indices, there are some 5-6 indicators that you should be well versed with, like HDI indicator, multidimensional poverty index indicator, this human capital index, then global hunger index. So, as you can say that there are 5-6 indicators only. But if you know them properly, you will see that you are ahead of others. So this is how when it comes to this consideration. I hope it's clear to you. Just a quick reference, not going into the detail of it because that will be overlapping then. Now coming back to our discussion, anything from that? From the World Bank, what we have discussed? All right. So the next thing I'm supposed to discuss is called IMF. International Monetary Fund, IMF. In fact, you might have heard that Geeta Gopinath has been now made deputy. That's very big achievement for India, I should say. That now she is deputy to this IMF. In fact, one of the Raghuram Rajan was also there in IMF. When it comes to IMF, what exactly this organization is. Let's understand a few things which are in controversies, which are in continuous news. When it comes to IMF, what exactly they do, I have told you that their major objective is, you will first understand and then we'll write, don't worry. The major objective of IMF is to ensure, that first, the balance of payment fact sheet or data sheet of the countries are properly maintained. Balance of payment data sheet of the countries are properly maintained. And if there is any reform needed, they might suggest that also. They are one who suggests reforms. That's why some writers call IMF as Central Bank of the World. Central Bank of the World. Because balance of payment are made by the central banks, so this way IMF can be called as Central Bank of the World because they maintain the balance of payment fact sheets and reforms for all countries, that whatever balance of payment situation is and so and so. They provide assistance in balance of payment crisis. Please be careful, World Bank provides loan for developmental projects. IMF does not provide loan in normal conditions. It provides only in BOP crisis. Then they also standardize, they are into the standardization of data, calculation of methodology, data dissemination, and all that. They are the one like SI unit of physics, where how the calculation should be done, what should be the methodology, and so and so. There are two sources which are doing it. One is IMF, and another is called United Nations System of National Accounting, UNSNA. It was introduced in 1953, and as of now we are following 2008 series. In fact, this talks about what you might have heard called National Account Statistics, NASH, prepared by MOSPI. So we have UNSNA, we have IMF. They standardize that how the calculation, so all the calculation, all the methodologies. So if you say National Account Statistics of India, the first point will be about GDP and its indicators, second point will be about other data, third will be inflation and so and so. That we'll see with every country how the entries should be made, what should be the formula, how the weighted average should be taken, and all that is being provided by IMF. So IMF in a way is a research center which provides standard calculation methodologies and so and so. And so that's how we got IMF, and that's how, in fact, look, Geeta Gopinath, she's gifted. She's from Delhi School of Economics, so that way we have some connection, you can say. And she's gifted the way she calculates the thing. Had worked with the Kerala government, was there in the Kerala Government Planning Commission, then moved to, in fact, her husband is also a gifted fellow in economics. He was an IAS and then left job and went to the MIT. So if you see that way, when it comes to this consideration, IMF does these three things. First, that they provide BOP manual for the world, so central bank of the world, does the reforms into that, assistance if BOP crisis is there, any kind of standardization of the data of calculation methodologies, data dissemination, along with United Nations system of national accounting, right? Now, when it comes to IMF, I hope you have heard of it earlier also. Is the same UNSNA which you, from where we got the definition of GDP and how it should be calculated and so. So IMF, it was outcome of Bretton Woods, so it came in 1944. It started working from 1945. Somewhere you might get 1944, somewhere you get 1945. Is one of the same thing. 190 members are there. Earlier it was 189. Thus Andorra has joined now. Andorra is a country that has joined it as 190th member. 190th member, right? Now when it comes to IMF, so first you know that what is this IMF, how it came and what it does. If you see, this IMF is having 24 board of directors, and we have now from India the deputy managing director. That's a proud moment for us, Geeta Gopinath. And we have every finance minister of a country as board of governor. So there are two boards, board of governor. They are the representatives of the country. They are the one who are into the policy making discussions, and we have rounds of IMF. They participate into that. They are executive one. They do the routine work, daily maintenance thing, etc., etc. of IMF. So we have 24 board of directors, and we have board of governors, which are nothing but the finance ministers of the member countries. Now, their currency is SDR. The currency of IMF is called SDR, Special Drawing Rights. Special Drawing Rights. The currency of SDR of IMF is SDR. They have unique. This is also called as paper gold. Paper gold. In fact, this SDR journey was also very interesting. From 1945 till 1969. Now, till 1969, you can say SDR was having only US dollar. So it was called US dollar only. There was no point of talking SDR then, because it was having only one currency, and that was US dollar. As after Nixon has brought a lot of changes in the American policy, and as he said, now no more gold pegging. I told you that $1 is equal to 0.88 gram gold. As Nixon discontinued it, people started saying, then what is the value of now having US dollar as base? And that's how somewhere you might see that SDR came in existence in 1969, and that's not wrong, because in 1969 onwards SDR started having other currencies also other than US dollar. Loosely speaking, up from 1973, because these were the year of turmoils, after 1973 to 1981, SDR was having 16 currencies into it. 16 currencies into it. From 1981, we reduced it to 5 major one. 5 currencies came. In that we got US dollar, pound sterling, Then we got what is called a Deutschmark. Deutschmark was there. Swiss franc was there. Very difficult to draw it. Something like this. Swiss franc was there. This is a symbol of Swiss franc. And then we got, so there was Swiss franc, there was Deutschmark, there was pound sterling, there was dollar, and then there was Japanese yen. It continued from 1981 to 1999. 1999. And 1999, we got a new currency called Euro. Euro came up. Because European Union came into existence, and it was a confederation kind of thing. European countries came together to make borderless trade within them, and that's how we got European Union. And as European Union came up, it came with its own currency called Euro. So needless to say, now some others has to go away, like Deutschmark of Germany went, Swiss franc went out, and we got three major players, dollar, pound sterling, yen, and the fourth became euro. So these four were the currencies. However, in 2016, Chinese renminbi, symbol is same of Japanese yen and Chinese renminbi, so it have to write always C in and then the sign. So Chinese renminbi joined in 2016. That's how SDR now consists of these five currencies. This is the contemporary value. And look, this is the beauty of UPSC. When Chinese joined in 2016, the question was asked in 2016, renminbi is the currency of which country? At least this basic information you should be aware of. The maximum weightage is dollar, more than 40, then euro, and then Chinese renminbi, because they had invested a lot in IMF. So that's how we got, the SDR. SDR has gone through a journey. Which country's currency will be taken in SDR? That depends on largely two factors. First, what is their export quantum, and what is their role in the world economy? Where they stand in the world economy, and what is their role in export? These two are the factors which determine that which currency is going to be in part of SDR. Yes, we want this somewhere to see into this. We all want rupee to be part of it, but I think it's a very long story as of now. It doesn't look in the near future. Let's keep the fingers crossed that soon we get our currency coming into. As of now, we are not negotiating much on that front. So dollar we got pound sterling, we got what is called Japanese yen, we got euro, we got Chinese renminbi. These five, please be careful, the currency of China is Chinese renminbi. Yuan is the unit of it. So when it comes to Chinese renminbi, dollar, pound sterling, Japanese yen, and euro, these five makes the SDR now. And weightage is maximum of US dollar. US dollars weightage is maximum, more than 40. And then we have euro, and then we have what is called renminbi. That's how we got SDR. So be careful. Don't think that SDR was always having these five currencies only. Before 1969, story was different. After 1969, story got changed. There was a small time when as high as 16 countries were the part of it, and then we got what is called five currencies coming into, and finally we got another five with the euro coming, and Swiss franc and Deutschmark going away of Germany. So this is how we got this SDR. So SDR is actually nothing but a kind of paper gold, which is having these values in it. So it is something which cannot be used for as a routine currency for exchange, but it is something which are kept with the countries for their purposes, and so and so. Is that clear? In fact, you can tell me in the response tab whether it's clear to you or not, whatever I have said so far, and if there is any question. So far I told you what is IMF, how it came, what is its composition, what is its currency, and what it does. All right, it's clear. Now, the most significant thing in the IMF is, and that we need to understand, in fact, this is the key. If you are not knowing this, there is no point of talking about IMF, because they provide us balance of payment assistance. How they do it? Uh, you know, as I told you earlier also, somebody saying SDR again. I told you SDR is nothing but the currency of, as every country has a currency, same way SDR is having its own, SDR is the currency of IMF. IMF is having its own currency. The concept became more popular in 1969 because earlier to that it was equal to dollar only, so there was no point of talking it. But after that we realized why only dollar, why not other currencies, and that's how after 1968, in 1969, we got SDR with more currencies. To start with 16, then we got 5 currencies of different nature, and from 1999, we got 4, and 2016, the current position you should be more aware of, we have 5 currencies as part of this SDR. So it is kind of a kind of note which is not for general exchange. I cannot carry SDR. Otherwise, I cannot carry. How can I afford? The minimum value start with denomination of 10,000. In the multiple of $10,000. So when it comes to SDR, SDR is something which is the currency of IMF, and it is something which is not having only US dollar, rather set of 5 currencies with different weightages, right? If you really want to know today's price, I can tell you that today or in the past few days, one SDR was equal to roughly $1.5, but that's not required. That will be technical. It is only for those who are trading on MCX. So when it comes to SDR, SDR is something which has these 5 currencies into it. I hope something is clear to you. In fact, if possible, can we see an image of SDR so that it will be more clearer to you, that how it looks like? SDR. Spatial drawing, right? Let's show images. My God, it seems to be some other company now. All right. SDR, IMF. Images. This is how. Let's see. To meet the need as and when arises. And then look the denomination, 10 billion. 10 billion, right? So this is, we got SDR, dollar and DR. In fact, some writers might use XDR also, is one of the same thing. So SDR, that's how it looked like. It is an official paper which is given to the countries whenever they give money and deposit their quota and so and so. So that's their currency, their piece of paper. It's like if I write on this piece of paper and say I ensure that I'll give Sameem 100 rupees, this will be the currency of this class, something like that. Obviously, acceptance has to be there. For currencies, what is needed? Acceptance. So that's how we got SDR, and it says to meet the need as and when it arises. That is what is written on the top of it, issued by IMF. Cannot be encashed. If you are carrying SDR, maybe the shopkeeper will say, "Kahan se laya bhai churan wala?" Because look, it looks like that. But yes, it's a very valuable currency which countries' central bank, RBI, keep it with their portfolio. They have SDRs. Now the barcodes are created, not this physical transfer is there. A barcode is created and that code is being shared with RBI. So coming back to the point, I hope now it's clear to you that how this SDR is and what are the merits into it. In fact, maximum weightage is of US dollar. Then we have euro, almost 37%, and then we have what is called Chinese renminbi. That's how we got when we talk about this SDR. Now, what is most important thing is that you said that they provide BOP crisis loan. IMF provides BOP crisis loan. So the question comes in mind, from where they get the money, what is their source? Obviously, to provide you loan, they should have the money first. Like in World Bank, you know that developed countries participated. It was demanded that we should be having some kind of fund for it. So some agencies, some bankers, a financier came up. How they will get the loan? For that, they say each member country, that means all 190, will provide some money. Please understand the logic. It's as simple as that, the way you play in your home when you do the business card. Don't you, that some codes are given and so and so. So each member will provide some money. And this way a fund is created, and that is called the fund of IMF. So the fund, if written anywhere and nothing else, that means it talks about IMF. The fund is the fund of IMF. Now each of the country will provide some money. How much a country will provide? Let's say India will provide 100 crore. This will be called quota. That how much they will provide. How much each country will provide is called quota of that country. Quota of that country. And whatsoever quota of that country is, if I say India's quota is 2.76%. The latest data I'm saying, 2.76%. Some book might say lesser than that, but after the 15th round, we got 2.76% quota. The maximum quota is roughly 87% of USA. So in the IMF, the first position is USA. Second is now China. They had funded a lot in IMF. Third is Japan. Our position is 8th. And that's how all countries are giving some money into it. And that will be called quota of that country. So you deposited money. You deposited money, and that will make a fund. Now, what will be the benefit of your quota? The biggest benefit of your quota is that whatever your quota percentage is, almost equal to that, you will get voting right in decisions of IMF. So like India's quota is 2.76%, and India's percentage in decision making is 2.6%. And USA is again close to say 87%. 87% decision they are. In IMF, that is one of the reason why we are talking about IMF reforms. In IMF, no decision can be taken without USA, because IMF says all decision has to be 85% vote. And USA alone is having what is called 87% vote and voting right, and that means no decision can be taken without USA. China is continuously working on it. They are ready to provide the fund to make sure that at least this veto power so-called of IMF is something which is going out of the USA. Maybe whenever the next round is, that is a matter of concern. That is why when even India wanted to increase its share, USA said no, it is not allowed. It is not allowed. Our finance minister in 2020, she was very enthusiastic that probably we will get some more quota into IMF, but we could not. So in a way, every country will be assigned. Now you must be wondering, which country will be assigned how much of money, how that will be decided. The quota is decided on certain criteria, and the criteria is how much is their GDP. 50% criteria is for GDP. 30% criteria is for what their openness is. 15% criteria is on their viability, economic viability, 15%, and 5% is in terms of how much of forex they are having. How much of forex they are having, that determines. So not a surprise, number one we have US, because US GDP is almost 22 trillion. If you see, second is China. Again, China's GDP is very high. So as our GDP is increasing, when we become say 5 trillion, automatically our quota will increase in what is called IMF. That's how it is. Now you must be wondering, ki sir ajeeb pagalpan hai? It's madness that we want to give money and we want to give more money. Why so? What is the benefit of it? What is the advantage of it? Why everyone is struggling that their quota should be more? अपनी जेब से पैसा दे रहे हैं, वहां डिपॉजिट कर रहे हैं, and why I want that I should have more quota. The reason being, because whatever your quota is, that money will come to you naturally whenever you require. So it's like your saving, which might be required in the emergency crisis. So whatever quota of, say, India's quota is 100 crore rupees, 100 crore, say you SDR. So as India's quota is 100 crore SDR, in that case, India will get this money very easily. very easily, without any challenge, without any problem, without any, you have to just make a call that I want money as I might be having BOP crisis. So this is the benefit, that it's like a saving for emergency situation. That whenever needed, the money will come to us. So if we got any import problem, anything, we can call. That's why people want, every country want that their quota in IMF should increase. So you understood what is quota now. So IMF get a fund, and that's called the fund, and the fund is nothing but money given by various countries. So whatever fund various countries are giving is called the fund. Each country will give how much is called quota. Whatever their quota is almost equal, they have voting rights in the big decision of IMF. As of now, the maximum quota is of USA, that is 87%, with the first position. Second is China, third is Japan. Our position is 8th. Our quota is 2.76%, and voting rights are equal to 2.6%. How the quota will be decided, that has element of 50% GDP, 30% openness of the economy, 15% of their economic viability, and 5% how much of forex they have. So that's how the quota is decided. Naturally, whenever your GDP is increasing, where openness of the economy is increasing, when your chances or ratings are increasing, your quota may increase. And that is generally revised on every 5th year. Not a necessary condition, but on an average, every 5th year, we have a sitting to see that is there any change in the quota or what. So that's how we got when we talk about this consideration of quota. Now, so let's say India has to give the money now. Please understand this point. India has to give money because India's quota is, let's say, 100 crore US dollar or 100 crore SDR, that will be better. 100 crore SDR we have to give. We have to give 100 crore SDR. How we will give it? As per the rules of IMF, the money will be given 25% of this in form of gold. Gold. And that's called gold tranche. Tranche is a piece of, a slice, is a French word. Tranche is a French word that means slice of something. Pija tranche, and that's how. So 25% we have to give in form of gold. The money has to be given in form of gold, and that's how SDR has the gold deposit with them. This was till 1978, but after that we said not necessarily gold. You can give in form of any foreign currency. Any foreign currency, not your own currency. Any foreign currency you have to give 25%. This you have given as in form of foreign currency to the IMF. This is called your reserve position or reserve tranche. As I had given in form of foreign currency, they are ready to give me foreign currency whenever needed. And that's why RTP is I told you RTP is form of forex. It's like a money with me, but might be deposited somewhere else. So when we talk about forex of any country, we have gold, we have what is called forex reserve, whatever currencies we have, and we have SDR of 25%. That's called reserve tranche. So either you call reserve tranche or you call gold tranche. This money is available without any hurdle. You can encash SDR immediately because you have given this in foreign currency. Now the advantage is 50% you will give in your own currency. In your own currency, and rest of the 25%, it depends on the bilateral agreement between the IMF and the country, that which form they want. There could be several other phases, like whether they want to give in form of currency, or they want to give in form of gold, or they want with some discounts their own currency, and so and so. So 25% they have to mandatorily give in form of gold and or in form of foreign currencies. Now, so what surprise if UPSC has, isn't it a kiddish question? Gold tranche is related to. That was the question I think in 2020. It's related to IMF. So gold tranche is something which is that 25% which the country has provided in the fund in foreign currency, and is very easily available. Very easily available to the countries whenever they have BOP problem. So we have deposited this money. 25 crore SDR we can demand any point of time from IMF without any charge. And because that's our money, so without any charge we can get it. That's why every country want to increase their quota. Because this money is easily available. We know that there is no problem. It is calculated into our balance sheet. So because we have SDR for it. So that's how it's called 25%, that is called gold tranche or the reserve tranche position. 50% they have to provide in their own currency, and 25% is something where options are available, set of options are available. So that's how we got 100% money given. This 100% money is also called as safe tranche. Safe tranche. So let's say India got, God forbidden, India got a BOP crisis. India may call that we want immediately our 25% money, and that will come without any service charge and so and so. For that we have already SDR, and that can be encashed. Then safe tranche is something which is coming again under the SDR facility in itself, and the money will be given to you with almost nominal charges. So up to 100% quota loan is available. So it's like that we have deposited a money somewhere for our critical situation. And that's why every country want that they should have what is called money with IMF, because first we got money in foreign currencies when needed, and second, the advantage is that we got a saying in the global economy, because we are now taking participation in various policy making decisions and reforms as IMF may propose. So that's why every country want it. Now this reserve position initially is 25%. It can be increased. How reserve position of a country can increase? Either their quota got increased, so 25% bracket will increase. So let's say from 100 crore, India's quota has got 1000 crore. So our 25% bracket will increase. That's one of the way. Other way is that India gives loan to some other countries. That's called affiliated loan. Let's say India gave loan to Sri Lanka, India gave loan to some other countries. So the moment they are getting affiliated loan, more affiliated loan they are providing to other countries, more their reserve tranche position will increase. That's the reason why we want, that's the reason Bangladesh tried, because Bangladesh would like to increase its reserve tranche position, understanding this point that they go aggressive now in terms of their what is called export policy. Bangladesh is going very aggressive in terms of export policy. So they would like to have their reserve tranche position little stronger. So what they have given, they have provided loan to the Sri Lanka. And this way their reserve tranche position, look, China's reserve tranche position is increasing continuously. The reason being because their quota is high and they are continuously giving loan to the neighboring countries. So that's how reserve position can increase. Up to 100% quota is called safe tranche. However, as you are depositing 100 crore, IMF says, boss, you have deposited 100 crore, perfectly all right. I understand that you are our important kind of member. If required, another 100 crore can be given to you in the BOP crisis. So first, 25%, which is always our, rest 75 will be provided by IMF in needed. Another 100% can be provided, means equal to your quota. Additional advance can be given, and that is called credit tranche. So this way any country can get up to 200%. So 100% whatever they have deposited and extra 100% as credit tranche. And for this the process is very simple. It's something where the almost meager service charge is being applied. However, if country is not having this and it's still BOP crisis going, then they have to go with the BOP loan. And in that BOP loan, IMF will dictate that, boss, bring these changes in your economy, then only will provide you the loan. As India has faced in 1991. Because in 1991, we were already exhausted with our reserve tranche, exhausted with our safe tranche, exhausted with our credit tranche, and now we were helpless because we were still having a lot of loans standing. So they imposed upon us that you have to bring certain reforms. Like now Sri Lanka might be going with that option. If the things continue for another few, God forbidden, I would love that Sri Lanka is bouncing back. But if this continues, then IMF might impose certain reforms on them. Whatever it will be, that we have to wait and watch. But that is where that definitely any good country would not like. And that's the reason why countries want their quota to be increased, so that we have massive money in terms of BOP crisis. So this is how we got, and obviously more money you have in your quota, your economic stature increases, and your say in the world economic decision making also increases, because IMF is the standard source of standardization, source of all the researchers into it, and you would definitely would like to have your say into that. Like as of now, USA dictates everything. Whenever they feel like they dictate, because they have the maximum quota. China is also now becoming a strong player. We would like, at least we are expecting, Gita Gopinath has written it in 2020 itself, that India should be, that is before COVID though, not after COVID. Before COVID, she said India should be trying to give somewhere at least the third or fourth or fifth position in IMF. Because we have that potential. If our GDP increases to 5 trillion, which we are expecting by 2025, then we may bypass Japan. And if we bypass Japan, then our position in IMF might jump to the fourth or fifth position. That will be a good situation for India for sure. And that's how we got when we say gold tranche. Now, your reserve tranche, which is very important thing, because this is the quick money which is available to us, always, all the time. Every country wants to increase it, and that's why India is trying to provide loans. India is trying to provide loans to the neighboring countries, and for that we have an agreement called SARC 2012 agreement. I've already told you that when India, RBI had said, we are ready to provide 2 billion SDR assistance. We are ready to provide $2 billion or 2 billion SDR assistance to whosoever want that loan. The minimum cap is $100 million and the maximum for one country could be $400 million. So that's how we are trying to provide. It was supposed to be up to 2019, but again we have extended it to 2022. Sri Lanka has taken loan into it. That increases our reserve transposition. Then other countries, let's say tomorrow any other country taking loan, that will increase our reserve transposition, and so and so. China is playing this game. With Pakistan, they have done it recently, because Pakistan is going through BOP crisis. And in that case, China has gave them, and that's called affiliated loan. Affiliated loan, I told you already. Affiliated loan is that a country has given loan to the other. So this way, when we talk about that how this quota system is there, and increasing quota is something which every country would like to have. Now, let's take a quick look again, and let me know whether it's clear or not. And it is not technical. It becomes technical only when you separate it from yourself. So forget about this. Now let me give a story to share. We friends together in hostel decided that we'll make a fund. And that fund might be utilized by any of the member in emergency situation. Like what we have self-help group fund, right? So we made a fund which can be utilized by any of the member when needed. One thing. Now, the fellow who has given the maximum fund will decide and will be in a way de facto king of the hostel, because he will be deciding the rules and regulation, that where the party will be, when the party will be, what will the itinerary in the party, and so and so. And whatever decision is to be taken by 85% of the majority. How much of money you have given in the fund, your percentage will determine how much of voting right. So in hostels we do that. I don't know, those who are in hostels, they might be knowing that we make a fund for parties and get-togethers and all these kind of things. So the one who has given the maximum money definitely will dictate the term. And the money can be utilized for emergency purposes whenever needed. Everybody would like that their share should be increased. Now, how the share can be increased? Whatever initial money you have deposited, 25% you have to deposit in form of some definite format, and as you have deposited in form of some definite format, that is always available to you. Earlier it was to be given in form of gold, that's why called gold tranche. Now we use the term reserve tranche position for it, or RTP. Then next 75% of the rupee you can provide in several other options, whatever you feel like, and this way the fund is created. Who will give how much of fund? In hostel, it is determined by who is in which course, whether one is doing PhD, whether one is BA or MA. In short, what is their strength. So similarly here we look into that, what is GDP, what is their openness, how much is their viability, and how much of the forex. That will determine who will given how much quota. So your GDP increasing, your openness of the policies increases, your quota will naturally increase. So this is how we got a quota created, and a term is given for them. For 25% we have a different term, and 100% the total money which you are depositing in the fund is called safe tranche, and equal to that additional to you is called credit tranche. This loan is easily available at any point of time without any compulsion, but beyond that, if you are going for it, there might be certain restrictions imposed upon you by the IMF in form of reforms. Definitely countries would not like to. How anyone can increase the reserve transposition? Either by increasing the quota, that means when economy is growing, or might be also by providing affiliated loan. What is affiliated loan? Where a country is providing loan to the other country. When a country is providing loan to the other country, their RTP position might increase accordingly. And that's why countries do provide these kind of currency swaps, and I have already discussed about the currency swaps. So they do provide these kind of currency swaps and these kind of agreements so that their RTP position improves. China is continuously playing on this. So that's how we got when we talk about the quota. That's how the IMF, what they frequently ask is a terminology from the quota. The fund is, the quota is, what is gold tranche, what is reserve tranche, these kind of things are asked. So far I have not seen any technical question asked, but obviously when they have gone up to this gold tranche, you can at least should be knowing the percentage, that how much of percentage is there for each of the brackets. Is that clear to you? If yes, then we can move to further. Today it was in the news, India finalized the plan to help Sri Lanka. Currency swap is one of the measures, yes, that we are. But look, I told you already that we have already helped them with 400 million US dollar as per the SAARC agreement in 2019. They have paid back the currency, but we are knowing it. Sri Lanka is our trusted partner, no doubt about it. What we are unhappy, look, it happens. Who is there? Who had said this? Anshul. No, somebody else. Sir, what was your name? Vaibhav, look, it's like that. वैसे ऐसा होगा नहीं, बट देन जस्ट फॉर एग्जांपल मान लीजिए कि मैं आपसे किसी बात पे नाराज हो जाऊं कि आपने कल ऐसा क्यों कहा कि सर आज इतना ही कराइए, राइट? आई स्टिल वांट टू हेल्प यू बिकॉज आई नो यू आर इंपॉर्टेंट टू मी. तो मैं क्या कर सकता हूं? आई विल गिव अ मैसेज by not by overlooking you but or declining your offer. This is what is our tactical move with Sri Lanka. उन्होंने हमसे ये उम्मीद की थी कि we'll provide them the fund. They said despite the fact that they betrayed us, they have given the west coast, which is very much needed for us, because if you see in Indian Ocean, in this Lumeria is, I don't know whether you're knowing this Lumeria, this hypothetical place which is between the Madagascar and this India, that we always believe is ours. We had been into from Seychelles, Madagascar, Maldives, everywhere. This was Indian, with due respect. In fact, there's a hypothetical situation, anthropologists call it Lemurian domain. So that is there. That was ours. Right from the beginning, we had got a very strong position. China is encroaching us. And our trusted partner Sri Lanka is going towards China than us. So we were very unhappy with it. We gave message loud and clear. But we also know that peace in Sri Lanka is needed, because we are already trying to grow our Andaman Nicobar. Andaman Nicobar, in fact, Niti Aayog has given a proposal of making Andaman Nicobar altogether a new world. I don't know to get into that, you might have read here and there. But anyone, any idea that which place in Andaman Nicobar? Niti Aayog made we are going to have a tourist destination, massive tourist destination, which also work as logistic transit in the Andaman Nicobar. We are trying to develop that. If you're knowing the location of Andaman Nicobar and Sri Lanka, you will understand the significance. And the reason why India want to do it, there's a strong reason. Because our ships start from Cape Town. And if we want to trade in the eastern world, we have to travel 10,214 kilometers from Cape Town to Singapore. We don't have any transit in between. our transit. So this is the reason why we really looking into that somehow the west coast of Sri Lanka should be friendly to us. Seychelles is in our side to some extent. Maldives we are in the good terms. Madagascar we cannot give because we have the the Somalian issues. Somalian pirates are. I hope you are knowing this world location in a bit. Am I going technical? All right. So this way, when it comes to this idea, so keeping this in mind, in Sri Lanka, we are knowing that they are important, and that's the reason why we had said, okay, fine, we are ready for currency swap, but maybe some terms and conditions that they have to oblige. Whatever, but yes, you're right. This will improve the reserve transposition of the India, which is the part of the SARC 2012 itself. Good. Great Nicobar, we are trying. Sri Lanka don't allow China in Jaffna Peninsula because of India, so India have to give some favor to them. It would be wrong to say that Sri Lanka is not allowing Shubham in the Jaffna Peninsula, because Jaffna Peninsula is already the turbulent one. Is already turbulent one, and definitely Sri Lanka would not like, being a Buddhist country, would not like that. This is where I think that China got an edge, because Sri Lanka is Buddhist, China is Buddhist. Obviously, that cultural diplomacy also plays a role. But Jaffna Peninsula, if you agree to that that point, that is something which is still going through the shadow of the civil war. Obviously, the LTT is gone, Prabhakaran is dead theoretically, as the reports are saying. But despite that, the area is not free from turbulence. That's one of the reasons, and India is already having higher bid on it. Whatever, but sooner or later you'll see that. I hope that problem is sorted out, because Jaffna has to be peaceful to us so that we can trade well in Bay of Bengal. If you see the location-wise, Bay of Bengal, if the moment you are moving above the 8 degree onwards, this becomes a little turbulent zone for us. History has proven that, that how there are certain challenges on the Bay of Bengal side because of that. So when it comes to international trade, logistics via the sea is very important. And that's why we are continuously, and Sri Lanka is a trusted partner with India, no doubt about it. We should not be, and these Rajapaksa brothers, if you see, they're continuously, it's okay, they have their own priorities, and they should have their own priorities. But despite that, you're right, and Shubham, I agree to you partly to that extent, that yes, Jaffna is something, it will be good for India if Jaffna is not going to the China side, keeping the location of Andaman Nicobar in mind. All right, but I think let's stop it here, otherwise this discussion may continue. You are all have understood this point, that why we had given money, because it provides us one back home advantage of reserve transposition also. So when we are giving money, we are getting another advantage in terms of RTP. So that's how we got when we talk about this consideration of IMF. Now the types of loan IMF provide, that also is classified. Generally what happens, some countries can have flexible line loans. This is very common, flexible line loans. Like I have already 100 crore in IMF. If I feel little problem is about to come, it's there is some likeliness that BOP crisis may come, I can tell IMF advance that I might be requiring this kind of loan. That's called flexible loan. The money is not been given, but IMF has considered your case. If required, money will reach to you. Then we have what is called credit line. Credit line is where, again, we may demand, because the situation has come closer. If it get even more closer, then we call it that we are in standby loans. Standby loans, the money is all set to move for that country. So that's how they classify flexible line, credit line, standby loan, and obviously then the last is the lending option. So that's how we got the classification of loans of IMF. I think this much of information is good enough. Otherwise, there are so many things into the IMF. I could have, gone in further detail of it, but this much is good enough to understand what exactly. And be ready, even Geeta Gopinath, because she's been rewarded Pravasi Bharatiya and has been now the Deputy Managing Director, clearly proves, that this lady has become important to us. In fact, I think in today's news only, I saw a photograph that, how Raghuram Rajan greeting and all that kind of thing. So, needless to say, you should be aware of that Raghuram Rajan was a veteran, no doubt. Now, Like World Bank, even IMF provides a very important what is called document, and that is called World Economic Outlook. World Economic Outlook is what is called a very important document by the IMF. In fact, off the record, if I could tell you, because you guys are listening good, if I could tell you that, your economic survey comes in two volumes, volume 1 and volume 2. Earlier it was coming in one volume only. IMF data, this World Economic Outlook, comes in two volumes. In fact, when you will be in the job, maybe some of your senior will say, read this document, at least the booklet 1. Wonderfully written, the masterpiece. If you love economics, even to an ounce, this could be a masterpiece to read. So IMF used to give the data in two booklets. Raghuram Rajan was there in IMF. When he became RBI governor, the first thing done was two booklets were introduced of economic survey in the same pattern as we have World Economic Outlook. And look, UPSC. UPSC asked that year, World Economic Outlook is published by, and the answer was IMF. This was a major development. All leading newspaper has talked about. That's why I said, be aware, be alert around the things. It's not that, bookish knowledge. It's about that how much alert you are about the things. So, logic, you can understand why this was asked, that World Economic Outlook is given by. Because on the same basis, now we have changed our economic survey. And as I told you, economic survey booklet 1 is a very good piece of writing. Similarly, IMF World Economic Outlook is a very good piece of writing. IMF, when it comes to, they follow it from what is called, again, the booklet comes into two volumes, but it comes 6 monthly. Be careful. India, we come it, and that comes in annually. That comes annually. In IMF, it comes 6 monthly. And then they also provide global financial stability report to say that what is the financial stability of the countries and where we stand. And that's why IMF provides how much is going to be the growth rate. You might have wondered, IMF has given this data of growth rate, IMF has given this data of recession, and so, because they are the one who provide global financial stability report also. So that's how IMF becomes a very, very important I should say center. And the good news for you all is that if you join IRS, they may take you to the IMF. That is now in part of your curriculum. They are also increasing the funds for training. So you may go to the Washington DC to see the place also, that how they work, and maybe having some quicker interaction with the officials there. So that's how we got when we talk about IMF. I hope it's clear to you. If yes, we can move further. Anyone? Any question or anything to ask? So this was about IMF. We can quickly write about it and then move further. We can write that. You can give the heading IMF, or International Monetary Fund. International Monetary Fund. IMF. International Monetary Fund. This institution emerged, or this institution also emerged as an outcome of Bretton Woods Conference, primarily to act as central bank of the world. Central bank of the world. It is not my statement. This is a statement of Foreign Secretary of Sri Lanka, because Sri Lanka has got good relation with China also, but due to security issues from the side of India, they change agreement with China after they say India needs to do some favor as Sri Lanka affected nowadays. That's what I'm saying. Jaffna Peninsula, we are, I don't know how much of history you are knowing, but India has sent a peacekeeping force way back when Rajiv Gandhi was Prime Minister. And Jaffna Peninsula, we want, location is very important. So yes, I think what I said and whatever the statement you're referring to that gentleman, it's one of the same thing. We want Jaffna to be on the India side. Location is very important, because Jaffna Peninsula is very important from the economic perspective, because we have to develop Andaman and Nicobar. We want Bay of Bengal to be safer for the trade in what is called, now we are looking into the Act East policy. We have that Act East policy. In that case, definitely we want these pearl of strings to be ours. So in that situation, we are continuously into the dialogue with the Sri Lankan officials to make sure that Jaffna Island is something which is in our side. Obviously, Sri Lanka is trying to strike a balance. Don't want to make China angry because they are in debt with the China. Don't want to lose India either because India and Sri Lanka has been trusted partner right from the beginning, right? So that's how it is. Well, don't worry, maybe the sir will discuss in IR in detail, because here I'm just looking from the economic glance. There could be other cultural diplomacies and other dimensions into it. But from economic perspective, Jaffna Peninsula should be in favor of India. Location should be safe so that Andaman and Nicobar could be developed. Then, so you can write that. It also, what have you written, sir? Primarily known as Central Bank of the world. Central Bank of the world. Central Bank of the world. So it's known as Central Bank of the world. This organization performs following three functions. First, to maintain the record of balance of payment and to advise associated reforms. Second, to ensure that financial assistance is there for countries suffering with BOP crisis. Financial assistance is there with the countries suffering with BOP crisis. And third, to standardize the calculation methodologies, formula, tabulation of accounting statistics. That's why India's MOSPI is continuously following the IMF guideline. Now, this organization consists of 190 members. You can write that in bracket. Latest entrant is Andorra. It joined somewhere in October 2020. I was thinking that this question might be asked, but they did not. Andorra 2020. Andorra has joined now. The latest entrant is Andorra. It's a small country between France and Spain. Andorra. Now, you can write that. This IMF consists of first 24-membered board of directors, and second 24-membered board of directors, and second is board of governors, where finance minister are members. Finance ministers are member. Finance ministers are members. You can give a short heading kind of thing, currency. The currency of IMF is SDR, special drawing rights, SDR. IMF is SDR, which is also called as paper gold. Because you know now gold transactions are not being done only, it is in a form of paper. Earlier they transfer gold. That's why they wanted gold. It's called paper gold. It's also called as paper gold. Initially from 1945 to 1969, it was only considering US dollar, and that is equal to 0.88 gram gold. 0.88 gram gold. You know that. I told you that $1 was equal to 0.88 gram gold. But then after, other currencies also became part of SDR. So it can be said that from 1969, SDR got weighted average of set of currencies. In fact, their exchange was also taken into consideration. Weighted average of set of currencies. Weighted average of set of currencies. From 1974 to 1981, there were 16 currencies in it. 16 currencies in it. From 1981 to 1999, it consists, or it had US dollar, Swiss franc, pound sterling. These are the currencies of those countries: Swiss franc, pound sterling, and Deutschmark of Germany, with Japanese yen. In 1999, when euro was introduced, it was reduced to 4 currencies: US dollar, euro, pound sterling, US dollar, euro, pound sterling, and Japanese yen. In 2016, Chinese renminbi also joined. So in the current 5 currencies, highest weightage is to US dollar. More than 40 it is. Highest weightage is to US dollar, followed by euro and renminbi. Which currency should be added in SDR is the decision of IMF. Obviously, voting will be taken on that. Decision of IMF, and is often based upon the economy of given country in the world, and their export quantum. So how much they are exporting, that is one of the major criteria. And that's why still India need to work a lot in that. So that's how we got, when we say the currency. Now you can give the heading, the fund and the quota system. The fund and the quota system. The fund and the quota system. You can write that. To provide fund, to provide loan for BOP crisis. To provide loan for BOP crisis. Every member country contribute to a collective fund. Collective fund. That's called the fund of IMF. And how much a country will contribute? Contribute is called the quota of that country. The quota of that country. Quota of that country. Say for example, if we say India's quota is 2.7%, India's quota is 2.7%, that means of the total value of IMF fund, 2.7% will be given by India. Will be given by India. That's why if you see if the overall quantum is increasing, India has to give, you might have heard recently, not that recent, it has been now quite a time, that India has sent additional gold to the IMF, deposited it, so that our quota is maintained. Right, so if 2.76%, that is, you can say, of the total fund, 2.76% will go from India then, right? You can write that. The quota of any country is determined by, the quota of any country is determined by, the quota of any country is determined by following factors. Is determined by following factors. First, GDP with 50% weightage, openness with 30% weightage, 30% weightage, economic viability with 20% weightage, sorry, 15% weightage, and forex with 5% weightage. 5% weightage. Now you can give a subheading kind of thing, the voting rights. The voting rights. The voting right of any country in IMF and so to say in the international economic policies, and so to say in the international economic policies, is directly dependent upon the quota of a country. For example, India's quota is 2.7% and the voting right is 2.6%. Rounded up figures they are. Voting right is 2.6%. 2.6%. 2.6%. While for USA, their quota is almost 87%. And the voting rights almost equal to that. Voting rights almost equal to that. In IMF, any decision has to be taken by 85% of 85% of has to be taken by 85% of voting. That is why apparently USA is having a veto. In quota, the top three countries are USA, China and Japan. USA, China and Japan. While India's position is 8th. India's position is 8th. India's position is 8th. Okay, right? That's the reason why every country want to increase their quota. Because that will help in increasing their global stature, along with availability of the fund. Now, you can again give a side kind of subheading, the breakup of quota. The breakup of quota. Breakup of quota. If any country's quota is, say, 100 SDR, it is just for sake of percentage, say 100 SDR, the first 25% they have to deposit in foreign currency. foreign currency. In bracket you can write before 1978 in gold. In gold. This is called gold tranche or reserve tranche. Gold tranche or reserve tranche or RTP. Gold tranche position, reserve tranche position, reserve tranche position. This is that amount of money which is the part of forex of any country. And is readily available. And is readily available in single inverted comma when and if need arise. That's the caption of SDR. When and if need arise. When and if need arise. So there is no, what is called any hurdle on it. The money is always with you. A country can increase its reserve tranche. A country can increase its reserve tranche either by increasing the quota or by providing affiliated loans to other countries who are in BOP crisis. Who are in BOP crisis. Here you can write that affiliated loans are approved by International Monetary and Financial Committee, IMFC we call it, International Monetary and Financial Committee, in guideline with IMF, or as per guideline of IMF, with IMF. So that's how we got the first 25%. Rest 75%. Rest 75% can be given as per the agreements of IMF, where 50% is 50% of the total. 50% is in the local currency. Rest depends what kind of agreement is. This entire quota is also called as safe tranche. The entire quota is also called as safe tranche because this money is easily available when BOP crisis emerges. BOP crisis emerges. So just for your example, so in above example of 100 SDR, 25 SDR is RTP and 100 SDR is safe tranche. SDR is safe tranche. Countries are also allowed to get easy loan additional to the safe tranche equal to their quota is called credit tranche. So in the above example, another 100 SDR easy loan will be provided, called credit tranche. Easy loan will be provided, called credit tranche. Credit tranche. Fine. However, if a country needs even more money, then the loan amount comes at the cost of imposed economic reforms. Comes at the cost of imposed economic reforms. Imposed economic reforms. Imposed economic reforms suggested by IMF. Suggested by IMF. Imposed economic reforms suggested by IMF. All right. So this was about IMF. Now you can say that if you want, you can add that the types of loans of IMF could be flexible line loan, credit line loan, or standby arrangements, depending upon the gravity of situation. Depending upon the gravity of situation. Gravity of situation. So that's how we got IMF. All right. So this was about IMF. A brief about, there are a lot of things, like there is one caveat of 145%, 435%, but that will be way too technical. What UPSC has asked so far and what is expected to be asked, that you should be aware of these basic informations and so and so. All right, so let's take a small break here. On the other side of the break, we'll continue with what is WTO, what was this GATS, and how WTO came up, what exactly it largely talks about. So small break of 10 minutes. On the other side of the break, we'll continue from there. Thank you. All right, so Shubham is asking, sir, can we say that IMF affect the sovereignty of a nation state in a policy as IMF influences by Western world order, capitalism or free market? So is it not criticizing that Western world want to influence economic policy according to them, especially after 1991? A question has been asked by Shubham, and this is not one question, I would like to say a dozen of questions into that, right? Because I'll go one by one. First is asking that, isn't IMF challenging the sovereignty of a country? Look, sovereignty does not mean insulation from the rest of the world. Understand this point. Sovereignty, I think we should not be looking sovereignty in a fine glance. It simply does not mean that you are insulated from the rest of the world, you are cut off from the rest of the world. You are in that, and everything which is happening, obviously whatever reforms they are suggesting, it's up to you to take the final call. It's on the countries to take the final call, but obviously what they are suggesting keeping, obviously that has been done in good faith, that's one thing. But second point, I agree that their approach is, because everyone, what is good or bad to me, Shubham, what is good or bad to you, what is good or bad to a Marxist, that depends upon the political ideologies we carry. Is India's sovereignty all about socialism? That I would like to ask. That's a big question. That's why I said it's not one question, it has a dozen of questions into it. Any country's sovereignty is guided by certain political philosophies, and so is the case of India. But that political philosophies are not an end in itself. The ultimate objective is the welfare of the people. So if the welfare of the people is compromised because of that identity, and that's why, Shubham, I'll go very quick on it, but I will be very happy if you read one piece of article written by Daniel Bell called End of Ideology Debate. It's a very famous article, End of Ideology Debate, which says ideologies are not supreme, they are just an instrument. It's like that the car I'm using. So car should be decided by me, not the car is deciding where should I go. Ideology should not decide where the welfare of the people is. Ideology is just an instrument to decide the welfare of the people. I know it can be contested. I know there could be views and counter views on it. But then even in very short, ideologies are not an end in itself. That we need to understand. They are mean to another end, and that is welfare of the people. If I have found that the earlier ideology was not helping, a new ideology is going to help. Because after 1991, one thing is for sure. In fact, if you could read, there's a wonderful write-up written by one fellow, you might be knowing his name, Harari, 21 Lessons for 21st Century, that Sapiens fame writer. And he says very rightly that after 1991, free economies or capital economies has come. With due respect, Shubham, capitalism is bound to grow in leads and bounces because of its flexibility. Other economies, other models of economies has proven their faults, says Harari, and I think his point is valid. So there's a complete debate on it. The 21st century debate is where we are knowing that ideologies are gone now. It's end of the day pragmatism which matters. Yes, I agree to that extent that capitalism is in its good days, no doubt about it. IFM, by its principle, is neutral to the political ideologies and only look into the BOP concerns and so and so. So whenever they will impose reforms on any country, the reform will be how they can fix their BOP problem for permanent. It's like that they are fixing the puncture of that tire. Like in India, what they did, they said your entire problem is because you have fixed exchange rate and you cannot manage it because your import is very high. You are in a dilemma. And the dilemma is that you want to, because you are trying to control your monetary policy also, inflation targeted, you want fixed exchange rate and you want your import to be also increased. This is not possible. So they advise that the only solution is that three things are there which you cannot hold together. Pick one which is not that important, and that is opening of your exchange rate, and that we did. So this is how IMF is something which is suggesting us that what you can do. I agree to this partly. Partly I do agree to this, that the world is moving towards capital economies, no doubt about it. That is their golden time. Good or bad, right or wrong, I am not the right person to comment upon it. But the entire world, and I would like to say again to rest my case that ideologies are not an end in itself. They are mean to another end. That we need to understand. Ideologies are not the objective. They are reference for the welfare of the people. And if any ideology has not worked, we should be quick to rethink of the alternatives. Like as we have seen in case of India also, that when we thought of socialism, it reduced to what is called crony socialism. Ramchandra Guha has used this term crony socialism. So this is how we got when we talk about, and again this can be contested, but we should be careful that IMF is just giving us suggestion regarding BOP management, not about how your entire reform should be there, right? That's one of the things. So and when the Western world, that is something which Shubham is the ugly truth. That Western world is actually determining the rule of the game. And that is happening since the so-called New World Order. That's why if you want to read more about it, why don't you read, there's a very famous theory called development and dependency thesis. You can go and read in detail that what is this development and dependency thesis and how the set of writers are divided on that. Development thesis was popularized by American economist Rostow, and dependency thesis by a set of Latin American and African. You can Google it. It's a wonderful thesis. Maybe you will get some insight from there also. But I will caution, as you're preparing for your civil services, these kind of academic pursuits might be a distraction. Once you're in job, then you can think of it. It's pure academic pursuit. I told you that for me, this is the most critical job, to make sure where your economics GS ends and the economics as a subject start. I am very clear on that line, that where economics as a subject or debate starts. So we need not to go that far, right? Ria is asking, sir, please explain different types of loans, flexible, credit line, standby. All right, so why don't you do one thing? You can write it side by side. That will suffice our purpose, because the explanation will be the self-explanatory itself. So you can, as I've written, let's quickly write it. You can say that the flexible loan is one. The flexible loan is one where, as I told you already, the flexible loan is one where the country is not in BOP problem. Country is not in BOP problem, but has an anticipation for it. That it may come. But has an anticipation for it. Anticipation for it. Precautionary lending is where BOP crisis is round the corner, and they want amount to be ready. And if the amount falls within the credit tranche, means whatever money we want, it's within the credit tranche, can be called as precautionary credit line. So we call precautionary lending when we are going more than that, precautionary credit line when within that, means within 200% if it is. Next is standby arrangements where the country want that loan ready. Standby, that the set is there and might be required at any point of time. So country want that loan ready. Means in principle now the agreement has been made. And the next is extended facility loan. Where country is in very bad shape of BOP. Like we have seen in case of Sri Lanka, Pakistan. When the country is in very bad shape of BOP. Fine. So that's how we got the types of. I hope Ria you answered. Now, so this was about IMF. There are a lot of things. In fact, if anyone want to know more, but again, from UPSC point of view, that is good enough. There were two objectives why I have told you all these things, so that if there is any news coming, like I was very delighted that the moment you have heard it, you could connect it very easily to the today's news, that what happened in Sri Lanka and so and so. That is something as a teacher I will see as a victory. Because I told you in the day one, if I can make you interested in the newspaper articles related to what we have discussed, the job is done. Because now you will be getting the news yourself that, okay, fine, what is happening and so and so. So this is how when we talk about IMF. The next is very interesting. Another one is called, so you have seen World Bank is like a big daddy, elder brother, if you have objection with a big daddy in a patriarchal society. The elder brother which helps us whenever money is required to make sure that poverty is being eradicated in extreme form, to make sure that, we are having what is called all that necessary assistance so that countries can develop, because if money is not coming to them in tier 2, they might collapse. So World Bank is primarily for that, and you see what is. IMF is more a professional organization. For everything there's a cost. It's more a professional organization, and as some of you wanted, has shown that they are little west tilted, that is for sure. But that is something which is, I should say, the unpleasant alliance. So we have to have that, that's needed unless until your say is stronger. So this is how we got IMF. The next is WTO. Before coming to WTO, we need to understand what is called General Agreement on Tariff and Trade. Tariff and Trade. General Agreement. Now this was the biggest challenge in the Bretton Woods. Making World Bank, everyone was ready, yes, it should be made, no problem into that. IMF, it was needed, we need standardization, we need BOP management and all that. This was the problem. We wanted to create certain kind of rules, certain kind of regulations, which every country has to follow when it comes to trade. So there should be some fair play. However, people were saying that some of the countries are imposing their things on the others and the vice versa. Because let me tell you, I'm sure you are aware of it, that 1950s was the time of the Cold War. We had Cold War between two major powers, one what you can call as the USA and the alliance, and the other was the Russia and the alliance. That time Russia was very powerful, known as USSR. So those were the days, and that's why not much of consensus could be made. We could not develop consensus because both of them were against on their arguments. That how the trade should be there and so and so. So in Bretton Woods, we wanted that there should be something of that nature, but we could not. Then we sat again and again and again. And please understand one thing. There's a thumb rule of negotiation. You all should be aware of it. Be a little practical. Negotiation does not say either the entire or nothing. Negotiation will be, okay, fine, if not gold, at least silver. If not silver, at least bronze. If not bronze, at least to ensure next sitting. That's so that we get the bronze, gold, or silver. That's why negotiation is a skill job. There are set of people. They are called perfect negotiators, because negotiation always keeps certain benchmark in the mind. First, I'll try for this. If not, I'll try for this. If not, I'll try for this. If not, I'll try for this. And if nothing, I will not disappoint. At least I will have one thing take home that will sit next, so that there is always option. I often say, and I mean it, the biggest achievement of United Nations is not that we develop a consensus. Biggest achievement of United Nations is that we sit together and we discuss. As we are discussing, we are avoiding war. When I told you earlier that whenever words end, war starts. So we are avoiding war this way at least. We are sitting there, we are discussing it. If nothing coming out, we decide, okay, fine, next time we'll discuss with some hope. Even that hope, and hope is the best of everything. No doubt about it. In Bretton Woods, we wanted to make a center called ITU, International Trade Organization. We could not develop consensus. We said, okay, fine, we will sit again and again. And finally, 1948, we could develop some consensus. Please understand this point. I want my students to be little practical. Don't be that unnecessarily heroic, because somewhere we try to get a little too heroic about the things. Negotiation is the practical solution. Work for it. Look into that direction. Keep your standards. That this is what I have to achieve. This is what I have to achieve. This is what I have to achieve. And negotiation, that's why, some people, if you see, there are professional negotiators. You will be surprised to know their salaries. That they might negotiate for government, they might negotiate with the terrorist organization, they might negotiate with the bankers. They know these skills very well. Now, when it comes to 1948, we somehow developed some agreement. some agreement, and that is called general agreement on trade. Understand the term general. General why? Because there were some point of disputes. We aside it कि चलो इसको भी रहने देते हैं, इसके बाद में बात करेंगे. We'll talk about it later. कम से कम कुछ basic चीजें बना लेते हैं. And they were called general agreement on trade and tariff. Now you should be knowing these two words. What is tariff? Again, I am very thankful to, did you notice that when I was showing you UNDP or these things, there are YouTube links also now. All organizations are doing it. Even WTO has certain definition. What is tariff? WTO gives a very good example. I am giving the same example to you. WTO says, let's make this is the national boundary. This is India, this is China, this is Sri Lanka. So this board is this dais is the boundary. This is India, this is China. Anything going from here to there or coming from there to here, whatever additional cost or tax they have to pay is called tariff. So tariff is in a way whatever tax or duty they are paying when they are crossing the borders. That's how the term tariff is used. Tariff, right? Trade, you know that buying and selling and so and so. So general agreement on trade and tariff at least developed a one consensus that let's have a bound rate. What is bound rate? Bound rate says tariff cannot be above this. At least this consensus can be made. Look, wonderful negotiation. कि चलो आपको ये तय नहीं हो रहा कि भाई इस पेंसिल पे 15% टैरिफ, 16% टैरिफ, 18% टैरिफ. एक चीज तो कर सकते हैं, not more than 20. So we got a concept called bound rate. Very important concept, bound rate. Bound rate means at least the tax or the duty cannot be more than this, which is going across the border, right? What you call custom duty in India. So it cannot be across the, when it comes to tariff cannot be more than this. And please be careful, it is item wise. It may vary from one item to another item. It depends on the items. So tariff for this could be different, tariff for this could be different, tariff for this could be different, and so and so. Right? So there's a bound rate. We make sure it cannot be more than this. This concept is clear. Then general agreement on trade and tariff also came with, let's have some basic rules कि कम से कम these things we will follow. कि भाई ऐसे करेंगे, ऐसे logistics होगा, these support and so and so. Some basic rule. Because be careful, enemies were talking to develop a consensus. So some basic rule will be there which everyone will follow. Not a specific one which A is saying, B is saying, D is saying, E is saying. Some basic rule. And they are called binding rules. Binding rules. So there should be some binding rules which everyone will be following. Everyone will be following these binding rules, and there will be some kind of consensus that maximum tariff is clear, not more than that. Not more than that. And we got a bound, you can say there is a bound rate above which tariff cannot be there. So if I say bound rate is 20% in terms of pencil, that means no country can have more than that tariff. Binding rules are the basic principles. And similarly, we got binding regulators also to see that how much of binding rules are followed. However, in this direction of GATS, a major development happened further in 1964 when we got United Nation Convention on Trade and Development. That is called UNCTAD. So UNCTAD in 1964 further supported GATS. Now some countries were brought together to develop some kind, it's a kind of making a lobby so that more and more people are supporting my argument. America was trying in their way, China was trying, and that time Russia was trying in their own way. And that is why you might be listening one thing in your IR classes called NAM. NAM was there. So that's how we were trying to bring countries into our basket. In fact, this is the time when India was also having an agreement with the USA called PL 480 agreement for agriculture. That was another effort. USA was trying that India should be standing on their side, and so on and so forth. I won't get into that because you know PL 480 in your agriculture. But that the United Nations attempt that countries are coming together for sake of trade and development, we should be coming together. UNCTAD came up, 1964. However, a major breakthrough came when In 1976, USA developed Generalized System of Preference, GSP. Generalized System of Preference. What was this Generalized System of Preference? It was developed by USA initially. That there are certain countries which are, let's say, their favorite countries, and they will provide various tariff discount to them. Various tariff discount to them. That, you know, let's say India will be given a lot of tariff cuts, almost no tariff, or, you know, different kind of favoritism will be given to India, so that India can easily export their things to America, or can import the things easily from America, and so and so. So Generalized System of Preference was a very smart tactical move of America towards promising economies like India and others. Gradually other countries also join it, and as of now we have 13 countries which offer this GSP, which was started by USA, but GSP started making some guideline that what should be done, what kind of tariff cuts could be there, and so and so. When GSP came up, we understood one thing, that between two countries there could be two types of barriers. One is called tariff barrier, that means you increase the tax or reduce the tax, and another is called non-tariff barrier. What is non-tariff barrier? Where you are not changing the tax, but you are doing unnecessary something. Like, say America says, I will buy product from that country only, where while doing agriculture, females should be singing also. India does it, Bangladesh does it. Now this kind of thing, which is very arbitrary, they were started imposing. They started imposing that so that only few countries can, favor or can export others. Let me give a very quick example. China has taken this matter to WTO. Recently India did what? That we will import certain things only from that country which is not the border country. And with certain exceptions they had said, and so and so. Clearly indicating that they want Pakistan and China aside. Now, China said this is something which is a non-tariff barrier India is trying to impose, and the matter was taken to WTO. So at least after GSP we understood there could be two types of barrier. One is called tariff barrier, and one is called non-tariff barrier. Non-tariff barrier means when they are trying to do something you make certain rules and regulations, like in case of India, why we cannot export our food items because they say there is too much of fertilizer into it. There's Codex Alimentarius, you might have heard in agriculture. Codex Alimentarius is the guideline for quality of the food. They say that food quality is not good, that's why we are not importing fish from India, and so and so. So these kind of things are called non-tariff barriers. There could be phytosanitary barriers, and so on. So we'll understand it gradually, that what are these barriers. But there could be tariff barriers, that is about what kind of custom duty you are having, and it could be non-tariff barrier where you certain specifications you are mentioning. A specification you are mentioning, because of which certain countries cannot export you. So isn't your normal trade is getting distorted? So after GSP, we have understood that the time has come again for a better understanding, because GATT as of now was flop. So we wanted a better understanding of these kind of trade distortions, and there should be a powerful agency which can control that there is no trade distortions and tariffs are within the range, and so on and so forth. But the thumb rule will be negotiation, not bullying. When no one is going to bully any country, the principle will be the principle of negotiation, that with the help of negotiation, if we could do that. This was the objective we got in 1986 of the GATT, which is popularly called as Uruguay round. In the Uruguay round of the GATT, this was highlighted that the time has come for more clarity on tariff and non-tariff barriers, to understand that what is distorting the world trade and what needs to be done in that. One by one the issues were highlighted, that what about the agriculture matters, what about intellectual property rights, what about investment related matters, what about non-agriculture market access, that's called NAMA, what about service. So series of things were discussed one by one, and this round continued from 1986 to 1994. And finally in 1994 we got Marrakesh Agreement, making WTO in 1995. So this was the historical backdrop, that how this WTO has evolved from that imaginary ITO which never realized how we have gradually climbed up to the WTO, and in between we have understood that what are the major challenges the economy, the world trade might face. WTO came with that orientation, and the idea was loud and clear that we will work on the negotiation, deliberation, not bullying. There is no imposition. In WTO we work on deliberation and negotiation. Negotiation always have three things into it: part concession, part indoctrination, these kind of things. So आप कुछ उनको concession दे सकते हैं, you can give certain kind of favor to them, certain relaxations to them. So it is deliberation which is done by WTO. Understand this first thing. It's deliberation which is done, and this way we are trying to make that the world should be as possible, as much as possible, a distorted free trade place between the countries. And the major issues revolved around the agriculture, investment related, that's called TRIPS. Even we got TRIPS plus, TRIPS flexibilities, we understand what is that. We got services, general agreement on trade and services. Then we got non-agriculture market access, NAMA. Then what about tariff things, what about non-tariff things, what about, when we talk about this consideration of that what exactly needs to be done in terms of investment and intellectual property rights. So that's how we got this idea of WTO, right? But I would like to continue WTO tomorrow for one reason, because I want to do in one go. That would be a better idea rather than doing in bits and pieces. So we have discussed the backdrop of it, that what exactly the backdrop of WTO was. And tomorrow, so I'm leaving a little early. I hope you're not angry on me for that. If anyone angry can tell me, I can continue then. No issues. I'm waiting for response and response tab. But I'd like to leave you a little early today here. Tomorrow we will continue from here and we'll see that, how this WTO has worked. IMF, if you find it enjoyable, and please do tell me also, anyone, that did you find any difficulty in IMF or World Bank? It's perfectly all right. It might be the case, but then even, if anything, you have one day also think of it. All right, so today I'll wind up here, and so somebody is happy, somebody is not. All right. So today we'll stop here. Tomorrow we'll continue from here, and we'll see what is this WTO, what are its dimensions. In fact, here I would discuss a little about what is India's IPR situation also, intellectual property right, basic things about intellectual property right in India, and so on and so forth. So this is it for today. I hope the class was productive for you. Thank you.